Welcome to another segment of anime and mythology. Now, we will learn about Lucifer today from my good friend, the Prelude, The Rise and Fall of Lucifer. Go ahead.
Okay, so according to Christian doctrine, Lucifer was the brightest of all of God's angels. He was the most powerful and the most proud. Now, the reason for his fall is heavily debated upon, depending on who you ask, but either way, his pride was behind it. He either grew proud and decided he shouldn't serve God, he should be God, or he decided that he, as an angel, should not have to bow to humanity since humanity was God's favored creation. Whichever way, he was too proud. He led a third of the angels in a war against God, lost very badly, and was cast to hell.
Yes, that's pretty much always been my summation of the events in Christian lore. Now, apparently he was defeated particularly in battle by the angel Michael.
Yes, the Archangel Michael, patron saint of knights, protectors, and, all around fighting, was the one who defeated Lucifer in hand to hand combat and was the one who physically cast him to hell.
Yes, hand to hand. Though I think in some art depictions, they do present themselves as having swords.
There's a whole thing about the sword of Michael, and they depict him as either wielding a sword or a spear, but most depictions have him literally stomping the back of Lucifer's head into the ground when he defeats him, which, you have wings. I don't see why you need to actually stomp on somebody.
Now, I've heard definitely in some interpretations, uh, after the initial hand to hand combat, Lucifer transforms into a dragon.
Yes, that is from the Book of Revelation, where they refer to Lucifer as the dragon and the old serpent. Uh, it is kind of like in a video game when the boss has a second form. Yeah, apparently it didn't do him too well since he's still lost.
Now, what's that meme goes? This is even my final form?
Yes.
Yes. But in the end, it was not enough. Now, funny enough, I definitely have seen like references to dragons. That's kind of often in the Bible, isn't it?
Yeah, the Bible does not like dragons. Not only are dragons and serpents connected to Lucifer explicitly, most serpents and dragons are treated as always chaotic evil creatures. They're either Lucifer himself or a demon.
And kind of funny, I guess in fairy tales, that's sort of turned off to wolves.
Yeah,
That's a very human thing.
yeah.
Now, one thing that can be confusing is his name and title. Like he originally an archangel?
According to most references, since he was one of the most high angels, it would logically track that he was an archangel. The problem is I can't find any concrete conclusions about what his archangel name was. Some say it was Samael, some say it was Luciel. Samael means the poison of God, Luciel means the light of God. There's no concrete name for what he was called before he got kicked out and became Lucifer, the light bringer.
I think in just some stories, Samael they just say is a completely different character.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be honest here. I am a Christian, but a lot of the stuff we talk about doesn't connect very well. It's very contradictory.
Yes, well, that's fine, though. I guess at the end of the day, it's written by men,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we're not
and
God. We can't.
yes,
We're not God. We're just people retelling stuff that happened literally before the time itself was created. So we're going to mess up.
yes. As I say, God's perfect, we're not. Is it Lightbringer? Is that I've definitely heard something like Lightbringer or Morning Star or things of that nature.
Yes, that is what Lucifer's name literally translates to in Greek and Latin. It is also why he's connected with Venus in ancient Latin traditions, because Venus was the morning star and it was thought to represent him.
Interesting. Now, going over towards Lucemon, of course, his story parallels him. The difference being is in well, Digimon is like I say a story with multiple beginnings and Lucemon is also sort of a legend in the digital world, so not all stories are the same even there. So there's no one concrete story, but I would just say the most consistent that I could find. Basically, he was the greatest angel in the digital world. He came to the digital world due to all the fighting and violence. Now, doing using his great power, he basically stopped all the wars. Now, sometime after, I suppose to finally quell everything, he pretty much talked to Digimon's version of God, which is either Yggdrasil or a character that might literally just be called God. But in one story, it was Yggdrasil. And he asked, could you please take the fighting spirit out of Digimon? He said no. And after his refusal, I guess you say it out of pride, he basically led a war, a great war in the digital world, then eventually tried to fight Yggdrasil. Now, it's not known exactly how he lost, but he did indeed lose the battle, and he was sealed in, while there's no technically hell, there is something called the dark area, which is basically a infinite expanse of darkness where great evil resides in. Now, those that were part of his army were basically angels. They fell and they are known as the Great Demon Lords. And they were once, seraphs and all the highest pantheon of angels.
Makes sense. They're
Yes.
in some Christian ideology, there are seven demon lords who were great generals who also fell beside Lucifer.
These demons and Lucifer are connected to the seven deadly sins. Is there anything like the seven deadly sins? Is that something in the Bible?
Well, it's not in the Bible itself, but it is in Christian doctrine about the seven deadly sins and the seven demon lords being connected to it.
I believe there is something like very close to this to the seven deadly sins in the Book of Solomon with some sort of witches or whatever.
I Well, it's not really the seven deadly sins in there, but that is an apocrypha book. The Book of Solomon is an apocrypha book,
Uh,
related to the Book of Kings. So that's where the idea first came from.
oh, I see. So that's how it all sort of connects back to each other. Now, in terms of looks and design, Lucemon in its first form is pretty much a one of the older artists, maybe as Renaissance design of basically a small childlike humanoid angel.
Yeah, this is representative of the modern interpretation of cherubim, which are small human-like angels, which are completely different from how they look in the Bible, but it is to represent the more innocent and childlike angels.
Right. Though isn't that's not stated to be what he is, it is a form he took.
Yeah.
Now, is there any actual reference to the looks of Satan in the Bible?
Yeah, it's vague, but there are passages that describe him as the most beautiful of all angels before he fell, and then when he takes on his dragon form there and his beast of revelation form, there's descriptions for that too. But his original angel form most likely would look similar to the Book of Ezekiel, where angels had 8 wings. Um, they were human. They were humanoid in appearance, but their legs were completely straight. Had 8 wings and eyes everywhere. Just,
Y-
just
yes,
all the eyes.
yeah, I definitely seen that design being referenced here and there as like a did you know sort of fact. So yeah, that is coming sort of back in popularity. Though the way it describes it, it does seem like something that they would have just made non-canon, just the way how descriptive and outer worldly it is. Now to his techniques, now there's oddly nothing when it comes to techniques about fire. his techniques are all pretty much related to light and darkness, which sort of goes into his other forms, where he is pretty much a angel, still an angel, and still also has a demonic side.
Yeah, this would most likely be representative of him after the fall, since he would still, since fallen angels are often described as as being able to appear similar to their original angel form but corrupted.
Yes, that definitely feels here. Just angelic, but still
Yeah.
darkened by the fall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Don't suppose there's anything in relation to the to Paradise Lost.
Well, actually, yes. Paradise Lost is one of the major books that helped Christianity. That helped Christianity. It's the first book written by a writer from Satan's point of view, John Milton, I believe. It was describing the fall of Satan his his betrayal and corruption of humankind. And by humankind, I mean specifically Adam and Eve.
Interesting. So I guess that's only fitting that that's pretty much his ultimate move. At least that's the name of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess it's I guess it's also fitting because we mentioned wrestling and hand-to-hand combat. Oddly enough, a lot of Lucimon's moves are a one is a pile driver and the others are roundhouse kicks.
yeah, yeah.
So he
Again,
prefers
makes
hand to hand.
yeah, makes sense. Him and Michael were basically the angels of fighting, so it makes sense he would focus so exclusively on martial arts.
Yes, I guess it does when you put it like that. Now in his other angelic form, his first chibi form, I guess I could say is well, there's probably nothing like this in the Bible. Just he just summons planetoid magical spears, but called Grand Cross. But the one thing that relates to the Bible is it's in the shape of a cross, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing since crosses are Jesus' whole deal, and you'd think the devil wouldn't like crosses, but
Hey, maybe it's a thing of like his
yeah,
sort of
maybe
way of
it's
mocking
coincidence.
it.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
Another thing that is just flat out called arrogant. So again, that just sticks to the theme of who he is. Another thing is called testament.
Which is again literally just what thing the testaments are literally just parts of the Bible where someone who has had a religious experience speaks on those religious experience. They testify.
And who has had a greater religious experience than Lucifer? Well, I'm not sure if it's in the Bible. There's something called heaven's judgment where he shoots down lightning bolts. Is there any lightning bolts in the Bible?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're usually the domain of God, so it feels like once again this is Lucifer using Lucemon using his enemies' techniques to mock them in a way to say, "Hey, look at this."
Like, hey, I can do this too now.
Yeah,
Now, another one of his ultimate moves is him manipulating the forces of light and dark that can either 50-50 kill you or poison you, confuse you, scare you, or stun you.
yeah, that would make sense because, as previously mentioned, Lucifer is the light bringer, and even after his fall, he would logically still have his light powers. He would just also have darkness powers from being in hell.
Yes, and I think you say another reference to him is poison. That kind of goes with it as well.
Yeah, poison as Lucifer's the great deceiver. He poisons everything with his tongue, with his lies, sometimes literally.
He's talking to you, trying to deceive you. He pretended to be on the side of the children in order to gain power.
Yeah, that makes sense. He is the great deceiver.
Here we go. Perjurical Flames. Flames that a dark area that he uses against his opponent. So that's at least one sort of flame technique that we have, and
Yeah.
it's related to hell.
Yep. The
I
name.
guess. Go ahead.
No. You finish, then I'll go.
Nah, I pretty much said everything.
Okay. Well, yeah. The name Purgatorial Flames literally comes from the word purgatory, which is another word for hell. So, and the fact that these flames are black also brings to mind the biblical description of hell, which is that it is dark and on fire, which means the flames would have to be black if there's no light coming from them.
Yes, because I think that also fits with just the dark area itself, which is pretty much has almost no other visible description but darkness.
Mhm.
One technique is just flat out called the wrath of Satan. I don't suppose there's anything in the Bible related to a larva like monster, is there?
Not really. Well, not really for Lucifer. Larva and worms are usually Beelzebub's deal, and Beelzebub, despite what most people tell you, is a different demon than Lucifer.
Oh yeah, he's the number one general or something to that effect.
Yes, he's the number one general and the Lord of the Flies. So,
Interesting. Now, something that I actually did Google afterwards that is very much related to the Bible, at least in a Jewish sense, and I'm gonna try to say this word as best I can. Ghinna.
ah, it's well, there's two ways to pronounce it. You can pronounce it Gehenna or Gehenna.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gehenna is the spiritual plane where negative where negative thoughts, actions, and spirits come from. It is more or less hell without actually being hell. It's complicated.
Hmm. Interesting. And something seems to always comes back to spears. Spears of light or literal spears. Is there anything spear-like in art or or the Bible?
Yes. The spears usually represent auras of power in Christian artwork, especially planets and planet-shaped spears. Because in early Christianity, they connected each angel to a star, a planet, or other spears of light, and the spear itself represented completeness. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So another big theme I notice with uh the demon lords is crowns. Now I know that definitely does have some connection with the Bible.
Oh, yes. Actually, I was waiting for you to bring up crowns because I was waiting for you to bring up his Beast of Revelation form. But I will save that for when you actually bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
For crowns themselves, crowns are both symbolic of power and represent the authority that a being has over the world. Each one, for example, Christ has only one crown, but it's a giant crown made of white fire, which represents his dominion over the whole earth. More golden crowns represents control over a country or continent.
So much like Earth, crowns are basically a symbol of authority.
Yes.
Yes. And also perhaps in some ways shows that kings are themselves holy and ordained by God.
That is true. This was the original concept of the divine right of kings,
Mm.
which was stupid and I hate it.
Now, what's perhaps not very much in the Bible, but it does speak very often of dimensional power. Okay, back. Now, what we talking about? Crowns?
Yes. Well, no, you when you left, you had just mentioned dimensions.
Oh yes, I say. Something that's very often in Digimon is basically authority over dimensions. In some ways, Lucemon is a natural entity because he is pride. And as long as there's pride or sin within the heart of humanity, he can basically never go away.
This is actually something that ties into more recent Christian doctrine, which is a idea that demons and angels aren't just physical beings, but they are directly tied to concepts. They embody the concepts that they represent fully, and that is one of the things. Like, there's an idea that depression isn't just a mental illness, but an actual demon. and that as long as there are people who are depressed, the demon itself will never go away. It's a newer concept, only coming around the last 200 years or so, but it's a really interesting one that's been gaining a lot of popularity.
That is actually fascinating. It's just the weaknesses and faults of humanity can be traced back to specific demons related to them. Interesting. And now we can end this by talking about his final mode. That is Lucemon Satan mode.
Ah, yes, the Beast of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hold on, let me crack my knuckles, because this one I actually had to deep dive for a little.
Oh boy, go ahead. Can't wait.
So, in the Book of Revelation, Lucifer and the Son of God, Jesus, have a final battle where Lucifer assumes his final epic, ultimate, super mega form, where he turns into a beast with 7 heads and 10 crowns on each head, representing destruction, violence, and the end of all things. He wants to tear down God's creation and remake it in his own image in a much worse way.
Interesting. I guess that actually fits very well here because it just flat out says having the appearance of the dragon of Revelation, his final form.
Yep, 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns. Just yeah, just a really ugly thing to look at.
Though it's not that ugly here, it is definitely a bestial form, of which upon his body are the crowns of the great demon lords.
Yep, that would be the 10 horns, I guess.
And perhaps due to his pride and arrogance, his wish is to destroy the world and make a new one in his image.
Yeah, there we go. I guess with that final form, they're like, look, we named him Lucemon, we're just going to stop being subtle here.
Yes, it's just, is Lucifer. What more do you want? And of course, you have his underlings. With I'm gonna see if their names have any like biblical meaning. Real quick, hold on. Okay, now I've have the names of all of his basically his kin, but really his underlings is the one, of course, the most obvious is Beelzemon or Beelzebubmon.
Yes, yeah, that'd be Beelzebub.
Can you tell me anything about him real quickly?
As previously mentioned, Beelzebub is the Lord of the Flies. He is he was one of the second. He is usually portrayed as Lucifer's second in command. If I want to say he was avarice and greed, but I'm not sure.
And here he is listed as gluttony.
No, that was it. The problem is that with Christianity, while Lucifer is always pride, who everyone else is switches constantly.
Oh, just back and forth.
Yeah, depending on who you ask.
Gotcha. And does it?
Yeah, no. Yeah, Beelzebub is usually gluttony, but he is occasionally greed. But he's occasionally greed. Okay.
Now, does name perhaps Leviathan or Leviathan sound familiar for envy?
Yes. Leviathan is usually portrayed as a great sea serpent demon, one of the beasts that the Lord fought to bring order from chaos. I mean, I feel like you could have just not created them in the first place, but I'm not God, so yeah, occasionally he is counted among the demon princes, depending on if they decide to use Satan as 2 different people or if they decide Satan and Lucifer are the same being, which the Bible says they're the same being, so I don't know why sometimes they are portrayed as 2 different beings.
Wrath, Demon.
Well, that one, Wrath is usually shown to be, yeah, Daemon can work because occasionally Wrath is considered Satan, but he also could be Behemoth or that is a name I cannot pronounce. That is a lot of E's.
Okay. And next we have Beelzebub. And then was no, sorry, Beelzebub, Sloth.
That would be Belphegor, who is another demon prince. Belphegor he's basically the one that you see that has the big horns and the stingy tail. He's the one that is always sowing discord among humans. He's not very impressive in a fight, but he exists.
So he's basically like a trickster.
Yeah, he's basically the trickster and the one who just kind of hangs back.
Interesting. So, getting these descriptions, I see that the princes are their forms that are stated are pretty much how media just displays Satan whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, pretty much all the princes, their physical forms have been either co-opted by Satan or they were once all one the same and then separated. I'm not sure I can't tell you at this very moment which came first. I'd have to do a deep dive.
Greed, Barbamon.
That would be Barbados. Yeah.
Anything about him?
Not really. Barbados has never been a very interesting demon. He is a Duke of Hell. He is a Prince of Hell. He controls animals. He controls like 30 princes, but like his name means bearded. He's not a very impressive demon lord.
Well, I guess they did at least give him that in Digimon. He does indeed have a beard. And finally is one I think I'm somewhat familiar with, Lilithmon.
That would be Lilith, who, interesting fact, she is not originally Lilith. She
was from the Garden of Eve, right? Or something like that?
Yes. She is the first wife of Adam, who rebelled against him and was turned into a demon. Interesting fact, she does not appear in the Bible at all. She is wholly created centuries later by I call it biblical fan fiction, but that's not fair. it is spiritology gave her the name Lilith and her backstory to try to figure out why the Bible says that God created man and women, and then later says God created woman from man's rib, which, you and I would say that isn't a plot hole. That's literally saying the same thing twice, just the second time in more explanation, but they felt it was contradictory and they made up Lilith to explain.
So a fascinating little sort of canon lore of Lilith, huh?
Yeah, she also interestingly, she is usually depicted as the demon of lust, which means she basically kicked Asmodeus right out of his own throne. Like, hey, yeah, I'm just gonna scoot over.
Just stole and embodied his lore, pretty much.
Yep.
All right, I think that's about almost everything I can find. Is there anything perhaps relating to gates and towers?
Well, yes, if I can. The Gate of Hell is one of my favorite things because of the inscription on the Gate of Hell, which is not only where hell begins and it's where Lucifer is sealed in, but it has the greatest inscription, in my opinion, of all time. It literally says, "I am a being of divine power. Justice inspired my divine creator. Abandon all hope, ye who enter." Hold on. I can give you the whole thing, but because everyone knows the final lines is "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." But the full thing is amazing. It goes like this. "Through me is the way to the city of woe. Through me is the way to eternal pain. Through me is the way to a lost people. Justice moved my great creator. Divine power made me. The supreme wisdom and the primal love inspired me. Before me, nothing else was created. Nothing but the eternal and I last eternally. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here."
That's honestly pretty amazing.
It is, right? That is also probably the hardest flex God has ever made. He's like, "I have created this thing just to let you guys know, all of you sealed in here, this is where you're going to be stuck at forever. Enjoy."
Wow. I think that's actually a pretty great place to start. Now, the grading is basically grading on looks, design, and how much it plays with the lore, both as a character, his background, the universe around him, and of course techniques and looks.
Hmm.
You go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah. For the looks, while I'm always annoyed by the depiction of cherubs as innocent baby faces, it works in this context because part of Lucifer's whole thing is deceiving you into thinking he's harmless. So I'm going to give that a. So they do very well with that. His second angel form is great and fits the idea of Satan very well. And his final form, which is the Beast of Revelation, is just the Book of Revelation. Like
just
it's
just
just
straight up.
flat out. So yeah, all that is great.
I would
For
say
the lore,
one thing I also do like about of course he has an X form, and this X form, like you in that first true transformation, he has like an angel wing and a devil wing
which is
on one
amazing.
side and the other. And when he
Yeah,
transforms, something I didn't actually notice because they're both gold, but if you still actually look at it, one side is still demonic.
mm,
So you go
that's
ahead.
great symbolism.
Yes, I really like it. Yeah.
Now for the lore, most of the lore is pretty spot on. And again, I have to give them credit. They played with Christianity just enough to make it work, which is always impressive to me when Japan does this, since Japan knows nothing, next to nothing about Christianity. It's very rare over there.
Mhm.
So whenever they get so much of it right, I'm always impressed. So I gotta give them extra points for that. It fits the lore in a very well, while still doing a very unique and amazing job.
And I think the last is just techniques.
Because we don't have a lot of information on how Lucifer fights, they had to take a lot of liberties. But from what they did show, and from the references to not only to what little we do know about him, they do a good job with what they had to work with, while still coming up with a lot of really interesting concepts.
I agree. So what is your final score?
My final score, I gotta give them a, like you said last time, we don't give them numbers, so I have to give them a positive score. They did really well with this. Their research is spot on, which again for Japan is amazing whenever Japan gets Christianity right. And the techniques are great, and they just have it, like I said, they just have him as the Beast of Revelation for his final form because they probably just saw that in the Bible and were like, we can't top this. There's nothing we can do to top this. This is the coolest thing ever. Your thoughts? This is your show. Your thoughts?
Oh, no, you actually had to give a like a letter grade or
Yeah,
number
yeah.
grade.
I'm giving them I'm gonna give them an A minus, just because some of the stuff is a little lackluster and doesn't really make sense. Like his repeated use of crosses, I still don't get. Like we can make excuses for it, but there's really no reason
Yes.
for the devil to be using crosses.
Yes.
So that's the A minus. Other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah, it would be perfect if it was upside down. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. If it was upside down, or if it was like a pentagram, then it would have been perfect.
Yes. Now me, I guess pretty much agree with what you said. I actually really like all his Lucimon's transform designs, and like I mentioned, the thing with the wings and the crowns, and just everything. And what else I like? I also like that while definitely humanoid, he looks really weird. Like he's a weirdly shaped thing, like giant feet, like muscular but still short arms. Like he is still like a sort of pretty but very actually scary looking entity.
It's that uncanny valley effect. Like just looking at him, your brain goes, "It's close enough to human to make me uncomfortable with how wrong it is."
Exactly, exactly. And of course, the Book of Revelation. That's just like it's almost 1 to 1, and this X form, which is like like I think everyone compares it to Heaven Ascension Dio. If you watch JoJo.
JoJo. Yeah, I got that reference.
So yeah, overall, I would give him. I do wish he had some. No, he actually does have a good amount of fire-related moves, and I do like his relation to the other demons. So you know what? Yeah, I get him a A minus as well.
All right.
That's wonderful. All right, buddy. Till
All
next
right.
time.
Till next time.
Anything you want to promote?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you head over to my channel, I retell myths. So far, we have two: the story of Sisyphus and the story of the Yamababa. I try to post every Saturday. Have fun with those. And if you wait about 2 months, my first book, the 21st Century Guide to Mythology, Greek Myths Retold, will be out on Amazon.
Yes, everyone, please check all of that out, and please remember to like and subscribe. Later.
There it is.